Hello and welcome to the 8th installment of our Pathfinder Ultimate Guide series. For this episode, I plan to undertake the Tower of Estrid and also perhaps another location that I've yet to decide upon. First of all, though, we want to rest to remove some of these effects, and we also want to level up Nenyo, who we acquired last time out. Let's level up Nenyo then. Nenyo is a wizard, more specifically a scroll savant, which means she's better at using scrolls. She focuses on the illusion school and thereby has the spell focus illusion and also a spell penetration feat as her starting feats. At level 5, which we hit last time, she can calculate the DC for any spell it contains using her intelligence modifier instead of the minimum modifier needed to cast a spell of that level. And since we are going to increase her int as well, that'll be even better. Since Nenio is a wizard, she can learn a lot of different spells, but more importantly, she can learn spells from scrolls. And since Nenio also focuses on illusion, the recommended, at least for the game, has recommended the illusion spells, as you can see here. Blur is good, it's a 20% added defense bonus for your characters. Invisibility is good, it is a 50% plus a 20% bonus on stealth checks. Something like Glitter Dust is always good, any of these stat boosting spells. And there's another stat boosting spell. Web is also good, something like Grease is always good to have. And for the purposes of this guide, I will select Invisibility and Grease. Her ability points will go into Intelligence, and that'll also be the case for the remaining skills, basically, or ability points, rather. As for her skill points, all of the knowledge and lore checks, and any spare checks that you get upon hitting int 22 can go into UMD. You can also interchange between some of these as you want. With that being said, let's complete her level 4 and immediately do her level 5 as well. When it comes to Nenio's 5th level, we will again increase all of her knowledge and lore skills as well as UMD. As for her spells, displacement is good, haste is very good, heroism we already know and love. Other options include greater weapon or magic weapon greater, see invisibility, communal, and any other illusion spells you might not have picked up yet. So at level 5 here, Nenio becomes better at using scrolls, or spells in general. From scrolls, I've picked the Metamagic Hidden spell, so her magic can be increased by 1 level, which means we can have more versions of the same magic. And we've also selected Heroism and Haste as her new spells. Let's talk about meta magic. Each feat you can select, at least with the spellcasters, you will be able to choose meta magic, and you will have this button down here. Let's click that. Since I've selected the heightened spell with Nenio, I can now take a spell like Magic Missile, put on heighten, and increase it by a couple of levels. I can increase it to as many levels as I have. So let's say if I want to make a magic missile that's level 2, I can say give it a nice color and add a little edge up here, indicating that it's been tampered with. Now, why would you want to take any meta magic? Say if I want a spell like Grease, which has a difficulty class of 16 right now. If I put heighten on it, like so, and let's just write this spell here, it will now appear here, and it'll have a difficulty class of 17, which means you can effectively add higher difficulty classes on your spells, which means they are more likely to succeed. At least that is what heightened does for spells like grease anyway. Since I didn't select a spell that is a favorite school slot for Nenio, i.e. illusion, I can go into, say, a level 2 spell here and select either invisibility or mirror image, and I will select invisibility and simply add it like so. Now I can also add invisibility into this slot here, which means you don't necessarily have to select a illusion spell for each and every level, as you could just replace it with something like invisibility here. Let's take a look at learning spells. You might be able to see this little feather here. And if I say have this scroll of Ray of Sickening, I can right click it and copy it to spellbook. It now appears in Nenio's spellbook right here. It is a necromancy school, which is a opposition school of illusion, so I can't actually use it, but it was just an example. I recommend learning any spells that you can with a couple of copies, like so, for example here, or anything you might have picked up as well that might change the way of playing the game. I could, for example, learn Scroll of Stunning Barrier. Learning spells from scrolls also means that you don't have to select it upon level up. As you can see, Woljif can also learn spells. There are subclasses or other classes in general that can also learn spells from scrolls, including alchemists, eldritch scoundrels, and so on. Since all of my characters are fatigued, remember to fill all of your spell slots before resting so you get them immediately. Some good third level spells for Camellia here are Animate Dead, which summons between 3 to 6 undead skeletons. Cure Serious Wounds, Delay Poison Communal. Since we are at level 3 spells with Shaman, we can get some of these communal spells, including the Delay Poison and Resist Energy. We will also have access to our first sense of Dispel magic, which we might want to keep in mind for better versions of this spell. Remember to check some of your other characters, like Seela. As for Seela's level 1 paladin spells, I've gone for Divine Favor and Veil of Heaven. And when it comes to Lan, Hurricane Bow. Another option is Aspect of the Falcon, or if you have pets, Asset Maw. Alright, when it comes to the resting screen, I recommend turning this off, and for the most part, settling with this right here, the bottom one, which only takes 9 hours in-game. Especially at this point, since there's time-based things we have to worry about. Other options include 1 day and 9 hours, or 2 days and 9 hours, which is a lot of time. Let's go over the resting menu then. Usually, if you're resting on the world map or any other locations other than the Defender's Heart, you will have Protective Rituals, which is based on Law Religion, Camouflage, which is based on your stealth skills, Night Watch, which is based on Perception, Alchemy, which is based on Knowledge World, and Scroll Scribing, which is based on Knowledge Arcana or Law Religion, depending on which scrolls you want to scribe. Here we have a selection of characters, or the selection of characters that I have at my disposal. You might want to select the highest option here, but since it's Nenio and I want to use her for scroll scribing, we will keep her away from this. Instead, we will select our main character, and you can in theory put another character down here, such as let's say Seela. You will now have 12 to your cooking skill, and the DC, at least for the hearty meal, is only 10, so it's a guarantee. You can also click this Manage button here and select any of these recipes that you have learned over the course of the game, and each of these different recipes provide different bonuses. So the default hearty meal provides you a +1 bonus to all skill checks for a day. The spicy pastry provides a +5 movement speed bonus. It is also Woljif's favorite dish. Some of these dishes have a character that has a favorite dish, and these favorite dishes for different characters provide different bonuses. So, but along with the +5 movement speed bonus, I know for a fact that this also gives Woljev a +5 cooking bonus to mobility skill checks, and only mobility skill checks though. As for seasoned wings and thighs, we get 1 temporary hit point per level for a day. Since we are level 5, that is 5 temporary hit points. But as you can see, the DC or difficulty classes of the various dishes vary depending on what ingredients you're using, I guess. Since we are going to be fighting today primarily, I suppose I will use the seasoned wings and thighs dish for today. So I will select this and click OK. Are you sure you want to change your current recipe? Accept. And now we will attempt to cook the seasoned wings and thighs. As for scroll scribing, now if you click this, you can either choose between Knowledge Arcana or Law Religion. If I select Knowledge or Law Religion, you can see the different skill checks decrease or increases or decreases depending on the character's abilities in those skill checks. However, the scrolls also vary depending on if it's arcane scrolls or divine scrolls through Law Religion. To get to scribe scrolls, you need a scroll scriber's kit, which you can get from Visily over here for a couple of bucks, which we talked about in episode 7. If we quickly move over and talk to him again, we can scroll down a bit and we should see it. Here we are. Scroll Scriber's Kit 4, which allows you to create scrolls of spells up to 4th level. There are different or better versions of these later on in the game, and if you really want to spend money on them, I recommend no more than the 3rd level here or the 2nd level of Alchemists, as soon enough you'll be in Act 2 and already there you will have much better versions of these, up to 6th level of Scrolls and 5th or 6th level of Alchemists as well. But I suppose for the sake of perpetuity, I can showcase what scroll scribing is. Let's buy the Scroll Scriber's Kit 3, like so. And we can now go back to the resting menu and have Nenio, for example, scribe scrolls. You need an arcane spellcaster or a divine spellcaster. Woljev is a divine one, and he has scribe scrolls, and Nenio is a arcane caster, and she can scribe scrolls. So depending on what variant of scrolls you want, you can change it depending on that. We can select any of these scrolls of spells that she knows. I would want perhaps a scroll of haste. It's a 100% guarantee. I need a couple of different regions. We have a DC 20 or die 20 or D20 plus our skill value versus the difficulty class of the scroll of haste, which is a 15. And you can theoretically downgrade this to say a very bad version of it, and the DC decreases. However, the overall benefits of it also lessens. I think I will want to scribe a scroll of haste, so let's click OK on that. Since we already have a 100% guarantee, since even if we roll a 1 that's 15, we don't need to select anyone else. So with that being said, let's rest. And when we are finished resting, we can see our various different rolls. I rolled a 17 plus my 12 from skill value, and therefore I pass and get the seasoned wings and thighs. I rolled an 8 plus the 20 or 14, which is a 22, and we therefore surpass the scroll as well. And we can also see here in the bottom right, the rest took 9 in-game hours. Let's continue. Since Draken is blind, I will quickly go over to Visily and buy a scroll of blindness from him. Down here we can also see the effects of the seasoned wings and thighs with our +5 temporary hit points. And since they stack with all sources of temporary hit points, this number can be increased a lot. We have also rested for the first time, which means we have gotten our spells back from all of our people and now are fully stocked and ready for anything that the game might throw at us. I think for showing off Nenio, I will want to bring her instead of Woljif. The party composition doesn't really matter too much in this stage of the game, but if you generally have two casters, a ranged damage dealer, a tank, and a variation of a buffer, and perhaps a utility character, that'll do just fine. You can also just put whoever you like or prefer into your party and roll with it as you want. Also, since we have 6 characters now, we can have this option turned off for the foreseeable future. There are at least one more area of the game where your characters will be split, and you could theoretically turn this on until then, but note that anyone you leave behind in the Defender's Heart, such as Woljif that I've done like right now, will not gain the experience. Now then, we have a few things we want to do. First of all, we want to hit the Tower of Estrid, and since we are down there anyway, we might as well hit the Silken Thread Atelier afterwards. Let's go to the Tower of Estrid. This journey will take 2 hours. It is 3 a.m. on the 18th of Eridus, and here we see a random encounter. You fail to sneak past the enemies, prepare to fight. So each time you travel on the world map, there is a hidden chance that you fail a stealth check and you will have to fight a couple of different enemies that might pop up. There is a dead duelist here, which is another regent zone, so we might as well. And here we find a few different things. Collect them and move on. And here we are at the Tower of Estrid. As you enter the tower, a couple of different illusions will appear. As you move forward, you will have a brief discussion, or talk rather, with this dwarf here called Greybor. Whoever you are, keep quiet. There's a horde of enemies just beyond this door. Come over here and you'll see there's a handyway up nearby. So this door is locked, but this little ramp, if we walk up here, we can go up and see what's going on. And here we see a few enemies, and they are in the middle of a discussion. Righty-ho, a little dialogue section with Graber occurs after the speech down here happens, and we now have a few options. I could either attack them on straight ahead, but there's also an athletics check around here somewhere. Another option is going this way, across here, and you can then roll this little pillar and kill a few of them down here. I prefer going to the left because this pillar is more likely to kill the important people of this fight, making it much easier. But remember, you can complete all of these skill checks to gain the XP from them after you have completed this fight. There is a way to make this fight easier. It's by taking any of your ranged characters, shooting either of these stretches, and the main person who's right here around this candle will move up a bit, and then you can push this pillar. If everything goes according to plan, Lan will now in 0.6 seconds push this pillar down and hopefully kill a lot of these people, as they will converge upon this position right here. Here it goes. Now you don't need to do this fight before the tavern defense, but if you do it, the tavern defense will be much easier. So let's have our characters move up and loot whatever is here. There's also this heavy mace of fire. Let's just check these daggers if they're masterwork. They aren't. And let's have someone disarm this trap. Camilla will do it, like so. In the cutscene, this person died as well from Greybor. So now we can move down to the lower basement floor of this tower. Once this person called Tilma appears, I recommend you sparing him since he's tied to an achievement. You can kill him and there's little to no repercussions, but since he's tied to an achievement, simply keep him alive. By doing so, you can ask a couple of questions which are quite funny, or you can just say clear off before I kill you. And at some point he will say I must destroy some papers, and he chokes on them. And here is the option of either helping him, which is the achievement way, or just ending him or killing him outright. We will help him. Now then, there are a few things we want here. First of all, let's head into this door on the right. Don't worry if you fail these locks. There's no really negatives here, since we can get a key from someone in this door right here. Let's loot this chain shirt unidentified, and we identified it as Lady Calandra's shirt. It is a mythic or mithril chain shirt, and therefore better than what we have right now. Our AC increases on our main character, and we can now theoretically put this leather armor on someone else, or sell it entirely as well. Also, when it comes to magical armors and weapons, if you plan on not using them, there's no real downside of just selling them. As you can see, some of these net quite a significant sum of money, which is definitely helpful. There are a lot of traps, so move carefully, ideally with Camellia first, and as you can see, a lot of traps. Have Camellia move around and disarm a few of these traps as she goes. I actually misremembered, the person in question with the keys are in this room over here. But it doesn't really matter. What we really want is this right here, a magic essence. At some point you can either have him go back to the Defender's Heart, or you can make him tell you about the museum exhibits. There's a law religion check right here, 5 experience. If you ask him who he is, you can say, give me the keys. There are a few ways to do it. You can either do a diplomacy check of 20, or a chaotic trickery check of 16. It doesn't really matter, so we'll just take the trickery check. The only difference is the diplomacy check might have netted a few more points of experience, around 20 or so. With the magic essence looted, the Tower of Estred is now done, so we can move on to the Silken Thread. Once you arrive at the Silken Thread Atelier, right here on the corner, there's another stranger. Talk to him and he will just disappear. And over here are a couple of enemies. The main part of this area here is this Silken Thread Atelier, which is an underground basement, and also the reason we bought the consumable Scroll of Resist Electricity Communal. So put this on like so. It doesn't want to do it in the menu, that's fine. Let's put it down in the belt tab. Simply have the Scroll of Communal be activated. Make sure all of your party members are inside this yellow circle here. On pause, and off it pops. And you can now enter this area here. Immediately upon entrance, there's a couple of barbarians guarding the door. But more importantly, there's someone, a kineticist, that throws out lightning damage or electricity damage, which is why we had this electricity scroll communal equipped, and we can now fight these people as we usually do. Here he is, Kerbal the Sparkling Fist. He's a dark elementalist, he's chaotic evil, and he has, more importantly, if I scroll down a bit, Electric Blast, which is electricity damage. And right now he's casting a Electric Blast in about 2 seconds, which can do a lot of damage if you aren't prepared. Let's see how we do. We should in theory be fine. Have Ember cast Evil Eye on Kerbal here. Have Camellia cast Protective Lock on Bucephalus probably. And here you can see, even with the reduced, a sparkling or the kineticist can do a lot of damage. 46, so upwards of 40 or 24 damage, plus 6 equals 30 damage, minus 10, which is from our scroll, and even with the minus 10, he actually rolled quite high, aka 27, but since we had the scroll on, we only suffer 70 or 17 damage instead of 27. It would appear my pup was the one that took the damage, but since he only has 13 HP anyway, it's fine. If you really want to, you could spend one potion on him, but it's he doesn't really do a lot of damage since he's only level 2. From him, you get a lesser kinetic diadem. This is really only useful if you are a kineticist with a mercenary or your main character. And on the corpses here, there are a few garbage things. We want to keep, or we are keeping our animals at lower levels since we want to have an intelligence helmet on them before we are doing at least level 3. The reason why we're doing this is because a lot of good feats, especially teamwork feats, which we want on these pets, and overall good feats in general, are locked behind 3 intelligence. And since we only have 2 intelligence here, we can't select this feat, which is a prerequisite for crane style. If we take a look at that right here, you take only a -2 penalty on attack rolls, you get more dodge, so we want to avoid leveling up. We can level up our offensive style pets to level 3 at least and get combat reflexes on them, like so. We can't level them up to level 4 since we'll have to waste, quote unquote, an ability point on intelligence, which we don't really want. We want to max out strength or dexterity as much as we can for the best pets possible. If you really don't care about min-maxing, you could increase intelligence here, and after you do that, if you want the pets immediately leveled up, I recommend selecting Tandem Trip on your offensive pets and Crane Style on your defensive pets. I think we have time for one more location. Let's go to the Arendelle Party House. The journey will take 2 hours, and off we go. Upon entry to the party house, in this doorway here, in this room here, there are 2 dredges. Take them out before moving into the room on the right or on the left side here. After the dredges are taken care of, feel free to loot these 2 rooms before heading over to this place right here. This is an optional place to use a scroll of resist fire, if I can find it, right there. Another optional scroll you could use here is the delay poison, but we'll just enter this doorway without too many buffs. Once you're in here, there are 2 enemies you want to focus on. This shear just here and this mage right here, these 2 enemies closest to you. If you can, keep as many of these courtesans alive, since there's actually a nice little item we can get. But if you also see this person right here, Aranka, we want to talk to afterwards. There's also a hidden perception check right here, and the main reason we came here is Darren right here, a new companion. Be extra careful with this ferocious shear, because they have a enchanted bardiche, which does a lot of damage. This is also a good weapon to put on any melee character since it does, on critical hit, 1 damage to constitution on enemies. Loot the area, and before you interact with anyone, there are also a couple of checks you can complete. Some loot here that can be gathered, like so. Let's head back again. Right, let's talk to Aranka first. There's also a knowledge world check here. There's the perception check or the trap. Let's try and disarm it. We disarm it, it's a DC of 10, so it's fine. And let's pick the lock. In here there is a bunch of, or a little bit of money, but more importantly 5 pieces of jade, as well as some decently sellable loot. I detect a professional challenge in your words. The performance I gave the demons was pretty good too, I admit. We have a couple of options here. We can just sing a tune. Don't intimidate, there's no really purpose since we want to have Aranka go back. Since the mythic path that is unlocked by saving her is the one we will go with in this guide. More about that when we reach the marketplace again. We can tell her that we are a friend of Ix, the person we met when saving Ramian. We complete the quest, the Starward Gaze, or it progresses anyway, to the next option, or the next chapter, which is finding Thor the Wallflower. We can ask her a couple of questions, but we really want to say, can you get to somewhere safe on your own, and I have to go. We get Aranka's shawl, which is used to have Thor reveal himself, but let's talk to Darren after we get this skill check as well. If you ask him, I expect a little gratitude. You will get a ring that you can sell, and at some point you can just tell him to go back to the Defender's Heart. I recommend saying deal here, and you can now put Darren in your party. He is a pretty good character, right? We have now completed the Arendelle family house. Perhaps one more location, Gwyrm's family manor, since we already have Camellia in our party. This is Camelia's companion quest. We also discover a failed ritual site, which is another regent place. Let's enter it. After you talk with Horgus, he will task you to clear this entire mansion of demons. And also make sure you thoroughly loot this place, as this is also a magic essence location. So let's just rinse this area clean of anything they might have. The first encounter should be beyond this door, but before we hit up that, if you unlock this door here, you might get some indication of what kind of misdeeds are taking place in this area. A set of colors of various sizes, a box filled with a variety of whips and floggers. So there's definitely something weird going on afoot here in this little house. In this chest here in the kitchen, after you kill these enemies, you will find the recipe for onion soup. Let's just quickly learn that before we forget. By date from newest to oldest to easily find whatever you just picked up. And let's continue. There's some more food and whatever else garbage. Inside this library there's another little encounter, but to spare you the boring details of the more normal encounters, I will from now on just skip them entirely. In this chest inside this room, after defeating some campions, there is a silver robe, your first clothing item. Each character can have either armor, or depends on if they are casters and can't wear armor, but usually your characters can have both armor and clothing on. This silver robe grants a bonus to all saving throws against fear effects. Once the bottom floor is clear, you can move upstairs. Here we are then. In this little door to the right, you will find another encounter. In this little cab or bedside table, you will find your third magic essence, and you might wonder where the other three remaining is for Act 1. They are all in the Grey Garrison, which means that you have to loot that area thoroughly once you get to that point. Let's collect it. Let's just search up Magic Essence to double check we have 3 of them, which we do. 1 from the Blackwing Library, 1 from Gwyrm's Mansion, and 1 from the Tower of Estred. This painting here is a hidden perception check, so let's take a look at what that has. It has a few valuable scrolls. Scroll of Displacement, which Nenio can learn, Scroll of Remove Disease, and Scroll of Stone Skin. The communal version of this is exceptionally good. It ignores the first 10 points of damage each time it takes damage from a weapon, and the subject gains DR10 Adamantine, which is very good. So keep that in mind when you unlock the communal version of that spell right there. Inside this door there is, I believe, 6 babaus, so if you don't want to avoid, or if you want to avoid taking as much damage as possible, I highly recommend you focusing on one of them each, so you make sure that they don't have their sneak attacks applied on your characters. Once you've cleared both of the floors, the danger has passed, and you can now loot the entire area without any problems. There were also only 3 babaus in here. There's also a hidden door here that will be unlocked as soon as we interact with this window. This chest is also locked, so we can unlock it and then see what's inside. A fair few different things, including a counterfeit jewelry and a short bow that is enchanted. Let's give Horgus the signal. Once Horgus has been signaled, he opens this door here, and I won't spoil what happens after you go through this corridor. But if you just run around first and loot whatever there is, I will leave the remaining quest to you to be able to be discovered. I will cut off episode 8 here. In the next episode, episode 9, we will visit this briefly, go to Topaz Solutions, Terabate Residence, then up to the Pitaxian wine cellar, and perhaps start upon the Grey Garrison, and by the end of episode 10, we will hopefully complete the Grey Garrison and be sent to Act 2. But if you want me to showcase either Act 2 entirely or just a few notorious places, do feel free to let me know in the comments. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye bye for now.